Hello everyone, welcome on in. It's a new week here on Betting Weekly Game Bet Match to start the week. An unusual time to preview the outright markets, but it is a Tuesday, which means it's 1,000 week, one of them dreaded 10-day tournaments. And this time we take across to Spain, to the Spanish capital, to Madrid. It's a WTA and an ATP Tour event, but previewing the ATP Tour, looking at the outright market and the best bets for tomorrow's first round. I'm joined by our senior ATP Tour handicapper. It's Sean Calvert. Good afternoon to you and happy Easter, Sean. How are you?
Happy Easter, thank you. Yeah, I'm okay. I can't complain. The kids have gone back to school. I say kids.
Hey, that's something to celebrate, not to complain. You must be delighted.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's nothing to complain about. Really. I mean, I could come up with something. I could go on about West Brom and their problems and troubles. I could probably do 45 minutes on that. Well, I definitely could. But yeah, kids back to school, 2 weeks. This Easter, I was just talking to one of the mums in the coffee shop earlier on. She said the same as me. It's felt like about a month they've been off. It's 2 weeks, but it's not the most fun 2 weeks that you'll ever have, to be honest. I went down to Dover Castle at the weekend with young Lagan and one of his little friends. That was interesting. So yeah, it's all good. It feels like we haven't done a show for a while, actually, doesn't it?
No, well, we haven't. It's been almost a week. Last Wednesday was our last show. We concluded the tournament over in Barcelona, which was won by Holger Rune, pulled off a big shock against Carlos Alcaraz, who is going to go to Madrid here, but is he going to be fit? Is he going to participate? We have to find out over the next sort of 24 hours or so. And obviously the tournament over in Munich was won by Alexander Zverev, who finally showed his credentials. He stood up to the plate as the number one seed, and he comes here as a lively contender in Madrid. And that's probably where we're going to start here. Look at this tournament here in Madrid. It's a clay court event. It's over 10 days. It's a 96 player tournament. There's 32 players who are already into round number 2. And the first round matches are for the players to play to play the seeded players. It's a difficult one. It's a different one, from the usual clay court because it's played at altitude. It's quick. And if you look at the list of previous winners, which we'll come on to in a minute, there is some players there you would are very unlikely to see in traditional clay court events. So it's probably the best time for you to give us a little bit of what the trends are, what the weather conditions will be like, and what to expect when you're looking for trying to identify a winner of the tournament in Madrid this week.
Yeah, look, it's totally different to the Masters 1000 that we've just had in the Masters 1000 in Monte Carlo and the 500 in Barcelona. It's played at it's played on clay, but it's an altitude of around about 667 meters, I think it is. So it does play a lot quicker than the sea level events that we've had in recent weeks, as I said. If you look at the stats, that'll tell you it averages 81% holds and 71.5% first serve points won. That's more like a hard court kind of average that you would expect. Much bigger numbers there than you've seen in sort of Monte Carlo, Barcelona, these sort of tournaments. So a lot quicker. All the numbers will tell you that 38% of the matches here have featured a tie break, which would mean if you're betting that blind, you would want odds of 2.63 or plus 163 on any match featuring a tie break. There's no real preference overs and unders. It's exactly 50%, so there's nothing to say about over or under 22.5 games. No edge either way there. Over 10.5 games in set one is a bet that quite a few people have at this tournament. But last year, if you remember rightly, you probably will remember, because I got hypothermia, didn't I, in Madrid? It was absolutely freezing. It was bitter, freezing cold, sleet, like 10 degrees or something. So obviously the number of tiebreak matches and the statistics have gone down a little bit because it played a lot slower last year. But overall, over 10.5 games in set one. It's only 30% of the matches in the last 4 editions since COVID. So if you were betting that blind based on the last 4 editions, you'd want odds of about plus 233, 3.33, about over 10.5 in set one based on recent results. As far as underdogs are concerned, kind of averages 32% on the whole, and the best round, unsurprisingly, given that it's altitude and the players have got to adjust from generally sea level events, that the best round is round one at 37%. Now, just looking at the weather, it looks like it's going to be warmer this year than it was last year, but not as warm as the year before when it was about 32 degrees. Last year it was about 11 at one stage. I can promise you it was horrible. But this time it's going to be in between sort of 23 and 26 for the first week, which is kind of all we're interested in at the moment. Next week, looking further ahead, looks quite poor, actually. It looks like it's going to dip around to about 17 degrees and quite a bit of rain around as well, potentially next week. So first week looks okay, though. So as far as the trends are concerned, the number one seed has only won this tournament once in the last 7 editions, and 8 of the last 12 finalists have been priced between 16 to 1 and 200 to 1. So it's always been, in recent times anyway, it's been a decent tournament for a bit of each way value.
Yeah, the underdogs have got to the final, but they haven't won the tour. If you look at the roll of honours in the recent years, it's been more established players. Last year, Rublev won the tournament. He beat Felix Auger-Aliassime, which was a shock for him to get the Canadian get through to.
He had a lot of luck, didn't he? Retirements and withdrawals.
But I don't think, even if he had all that luck, I don't think he would have got it in any other clay court event. I think it just the conditions helped him with the luck as well. The year before, Alcaraz got through and beat Struff. He must have been the 200 to 1 shot, I'm guessing.
Yeah, he was a qualifier as well, if I remember rightly. I've got a slight problem with my headphones. You carry on, mate.
Yeah, no problem. Alcaraz beat Zverev in 2022. Zverev won the tournament in 21. Beat Berrettini. Djokovic beat Tsitsipas, and Zverev again won it. Beat Dominic Thiem. Djokovic won it 3 times previously. Zverev has won it twice, and Alcaraz has won it twice. Let's have a look at the bracket. I'll break down the bracket for you. Obviously, as I said, the top 32 seeds get a bye through to round 2, and the first round, the players play for the right to play the seeded play. If it went to seedings, there's nothing ever goes to seedings. But if it did, in the top half of the draw, you'd have Alexander Zverev will play Andrei Rublev, so the number 1 seed will play the defending champion. Then we'd have Taylor Fritz up against Holger Rune. So that is the top half of the draw, which does look a little bit weaker than the bottom half of the draw. In the bottom half of the draw would be Jack Draper up against Novak Djokovic. And then we would have Alex de Minaur against Carlos Alcaraz. But there is a whole host of dangerous floaters in and around this draw that could cause major problems as the tournament progresses. That's the draw. And these are the odds with Bet Rivers. Carlos Alcaraz is plus 160, and I'm sure we'll probably mention Carlos when we have to start with Carlos when we gives his preview. But injured in his last match at plus 160, it's he may just be there for appearance money, or the sponsors need him there. For, obviously, the Spaniard in Madrid, 2 times champion, but at plus 160 straight away, that looks a fade to me. Novak Djokovic is 9, Holger Rune is 12. Looking good. Maybe French Open, maybe a little bit too quick for him, but he's 12 to 1. Alexander Zverev coming back to some form, and he's got a brilliant record here. He's 12 to 1. Alex de Minaur 20, Jack Draper 20. Artur Fils, the young Frenchman, moving massively up the rankings. The only player who to get to the quarterfinal in every single, at least the quarterfinal in every single 1,000 event this year. Casper Ruud 30 to 1. Francisco Cerundolo 33. Medvedev 33. Rublev defending champion 35. Fonseca, the young teenage sensation from Brazil 40. Musetti 40. Tsitsipas 40. Taylor Fritz 45. And Matteo Berrettini at 50. We've got to start with Alcaraz, Sean. Plus 160. I mean, he could win it, but I think you've got to be really brave. I can't see him being at his 100% here. He's won back-to-back tournaments in Monte Carlo and in Barcelona. He got to the final, in Barcelona. Yeah. He's injured. Come here, he's got to play. If it was any other tournament, I'm not quite sure he'd be here.
Yeah, I agree with that. There was actually a spider in my headphones, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I could feel something.
Come out your wallet, Sean. It's come out your wallet, mate.
Quite possibly. I don't keep my wallet in here, but yeah, there was, when I was doing the conditions, I could feel something very strange in my ear. That got the headphones off. There was a spider in there. This is one of the perils of having an outdoor office, I suppose. But anyway, yeah, Carlos Alcaraz. Yeah, I've got nothing to add on what you've just said. Actually, you know, he's obviously struggling physically, back-to-back tournament finals on clay. You know, it's tough on the body. You know, this has been a season of injuries and withdrawals and illnesses and everything else, hasn't it? I mean, plus 160. I mean, yes, he's got a great record. Yes, he'd be highly motivated. Yes, he'd love to win it. But really, I think it's a tall order. Unless he's, it's hard to see him having a massive improvement. It looked like a groin injury. You know, he's got to win numerous matches on clay to get to the final again, and he's clearly nowhere near fully fit now. I mean, a miracle could occur, and he could suddenly wake up tomorrow and feel absolutely fine. But you can't back him at plus 160 in that situation, can you? I mean, all of the favourites look dodgy to me. Novak 9 to 1 hasn't made the final here since 2019, I don't think. always a work in progress in the early stages of the clay swing. He normally sort of improves steadily. I imagine we'll see a better version of him than we did in Monte Carlo, but will it be good enough to win this tournament? I have my doubts. Holger Rune, I mean, it depends how he's feeling, doesn't it? 1 minute he's sick, the next minute he's injured. The week after he'll win a tournament. I think it's Holger Rune bingo, isn't it? What's wrong with him this time? He could be fully fit. He could be injured. He's only that price because he won Barcelona last week. It's no sort of price really given his injury record. Zverev is in an extremely tough part of the draw, which I'll go into in a minute. Q1, Damir, hard to fancy him on clay. Even the quicker clay, his record here isn't particularly good. Not seeing any value there. And you could go further down. I mean, I've got a couple of fancies. I think to be honest, the first quarter is incredibly difficult, isn't it? You've got Zverev in there, obviously. You've got Davidovich for Kina, Cerundolo, Fils, Shelton, who did really well on the slightly quicker clay this year in Munich. Mensic's in there as well. Popurin, who can play on clay. Rublev. That is a incredibly difficult Q1. It's not. I mean, I wouldn't like to pick the winner of Q1. Zverev's got a great record here. If I can find it, where's his record? Yeah, he's 15-2 win-loss. Sorry, it's not. That's Alcaraz. Sorry, 23-5 win-loss. Actually, 82% win rate Zverev. But that is a very difficult quarter. Yes, he's been boosted by winning Munich, but was it that great at Munich? We'll see. But Q1 looks very, very difficult. Q2 is one where I would actually like to take a chance because Holger Rune's in there. I've looked exhaustively at this. The only one I sort of half fancied was Felix around about sort of 80-1, but I'm not sure he's going to get the kind of fortune this year that he had here last year. He had numerous retirements and withdrawals, which helped him on his way to the final. He's perhaps the one that I would think, but for me, my two bets are in the bottom half of the draw.
Yeah, let's have a look at the bottom half of the draw. Obviously, Q3 does see Novak Djokovic, which I think at 9-1, given his form, given his shock defeat so far this year, even at that kind of price, I still believe that it's going to be a very, very tall order of him to do well here in Madrid. He has won the tour 3 times though before. And other than that, Q3 looks quite a weak section. But I quite like one at a big price here, and I bet him early today. And I don't know if it's the same one, but I took a chance on João Fonseca here at 66-1. He was at 66-1 earlier. I don't know if you're on the same wavelength as me, but you got Draper obviously and Berrettini in quicker conditions to do well. Q4, you've got Alcaraz, and obviously we want to fade him. I think Musetti's got a chance there and Tsitsipas as well. But Sean, where are we going?
I mean, Fonseca's certainly high up on my short list. Yeah, I didn't see the 66-1 that you've taken. It's a bit of value. I think he's around about 33s, 40s. That sort of price, which is less appealing. But yeah, I certainly wouldn't put anybody off backing Fonseca. This third quarter, just looking at it here, is if you take Djokovic out of that, it's absolutely wide open, isn't it? If you look at the seeds, Baez, not for me on quick European clay altitude. I think that would be a very tall order. Humbert injured. We enjoyed a bit of success last week backing against him, didn't we, with Marijan? Pretty comfortable win that was for Marijan. Humbert, even though it's quicker, he is injured. It's very difficult to see him making the latter stages. TFO, I don't think he's got a very good record here, TFO. He's lost 4 of his last 5 matches here, TFO. Again, not really a clay guy. Tommy Paul's got a really poor record here as well. Draper, for me, is a work in progress on clay. He's certainly got the potential maybe to do something in that quarter. I still think he's got a little ways to go on the clay. For me, I've taken Berrettini here at 50-1. I think him and Fonseca are certainly the two best options at decent prices in this quarter. If you are opposing Djokovic, and I certainly am. As I said, Djokovic tends to sort of edge his way through the clay court season and tries to play his best at Rome or the French Open. Obviously, ultimately, the French Open is his goal. These Masters 1000s on clay, they're not generally won by Novak Djokovic. As I say, he's not made the final since 2019. So Berrettini for me here. Look, this looks a wide open quarter of the draw. This Q3. He's got a fabulous record on clay at altitude. Berrettini. I know some of these are smaller tournaments. Kitzbühel, Gstaad, Marrakesh. He's won all them. He's only played here once, made the final. I think he lost to Zverev in the final, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. 2021.
Yeah, 2021. He's only played it once due to his many injuries. If it is going to be warm, the conditions, his serve in these conditions, it's very, very difficult, even on the clay. And the clay just gives him that little bit of extra time on the backhand. Everyone tries to pepper his backhand, and on a slower clay, it works a lot of the time. But on the quicker clay, many have tried and few have succeeded. It just gives him that extra time to either line up the backhand or run around the backhand and hit that massive forehand. Very good form in recent times. Beat Zverev on slow clay in Monte Carlo, which was an excellent result for him. So, yeah, 50-1. I think are the odds with Bet Rivers for him. So that's my each way.
And he played very well in Monte Carlo, didn't he? He beat Zverev. He beat Navone.
Yeah.
And the thing is with him as well, as I've been sort of highlighting this as we've done this show and Betting Weekly Tennis Live as well. Bet Rivers is still the best price on him to win Wimbledon. I mean, if he goes deep in here and he's fit, he's 40-1 to win Wimbledon. I just can't. I think that is just massive. You've got Sinner, Alcaraz, Djokovic. I mean, Djokovic against Berrettini on a Wimbledon quarterfinal. Big slight favourite Djokovic. Draper, Zverev, Fritz, Medvedev, shorter price than Berrettini. Berrettini to me is the fourth or fifth best, and if he's fit, he's probably the third best grass court player in the world. And I mean, we're talking about 40-1, 50-1 here to win the Madrid on clay. If he goes deep here again, that 40-1 of him Wimbledon has got to be. Bet Rivers haven't moved it since he did well at Monte Carlo, which I'm shocked about. But
yeah,
I think he's. I think everything looks good for the grass court season for Berrettini if he can keep fit, which I think
if he can stay fit. Yeah, exactly.
But Berrettini at 50-1. We got Fonseca at 40-1, not an official play, but I did bet him this morning at 66-1. But I think he's going to go deep as well. So. The bottom quarter, I suppose we've got another one in there as well, have we?
We got one in Q4 as well, 150-1.
Whoa, let me see if I can think of this. This has got to be one of the Czech players, surely.
Yes.
Yeah, it's got to be Mahak or Leheka. Which one is it? One of those. Which one are we going with?
It is Lehechka, yeah. Right. I think that's a very big price, 150-1 in this quarter. I think it's probably because he's in the same quarter as Alcaraz, but as I've said, I'm more than happy to take a chance on opposing Alcaraz, given that he's injured. I wouldn't be so keen on taking him on if he was fully fit, but he hasn't really played Monte Carlo before. He only played it once a few years ago and lost in the first round. So this is an addition to his clay court schedule, really. He's normally sort of won Barcelona and come to Madrid, reasonably fit after, only a few matches. Now he's had a Monte Carlo on top of that, a full Monte Carlo going all the way and winning it. And his body's starting to complain a bit. So happy to take him on. If you look at the others in this section, Tsitsipas can't be fit either. He retired, didn't he, in Barcelona last week? So he's injured. Musetti's been injured as well. He couldn't move, could he, in Monte Carlo? Withdrew from Barcelona. Even if he's fit now, he's got a poor record here. Musetti, if I can just find his record. Yeah, he's lost his last 3 matches here, Musetti. I wouldn't particularly fancy him on this quicker clay. So if you look at this, I think there's a very decent path through here for Lehechka. He's already beaten Alcaraz this season, not even that long ago, a couple of months ago. He's won his last 4 against Dimitrov. He's won his last 2 against Tsitsipas. I know some of these are on hard courts, but even so, he made the semi-finals here last year, Lehechka. I think he ended up retiring in the semi-finals last year, if I remember rightly. Service points won and return points won a total of 105 in this competition last year. Clearly, the quicker clay suits his aggressive game. Skipped Munich last week with illness. He was supposed to play with Drew quite late on, actually, with an illness. So he should be fresh. He shouldn't have any worries about his body. You wouldn't have thought. He's not played for, week 10 days or whatever. And as I said, the others in this section, they don't inspire, do they? Diminor, I mean, his record here, I've got it written down somewhere. 5 wins, no, that's Davidovich Fokina. 4 wins, 5 losses. I think his service points won and return points won total here something like 98. So it's not, even though it's quicker clay, it's not a tournament that he's gone particularly well at. Shapovalov, not really for me on clay. Mahak is a possibility. Again, he's another one that seems to be always ill or injured. I would have preferred him on hard courts. I wouldn't necessarily rule him out, but for me, Lehechka is the standout here at 150-1. in what's if you take Alcaraz out of it, which who knows, by the time this is on air, or maybe tomorrow, he may have withdrawn, I don't know. But you take him out of that section, I think it's very open, and Lehechka 150, I think that's just a bit too big for me, so I'm happy to take it each way.
Yep, 150 to 1 Lehechka and 50 to 1 Matteo Berrettini. That is the each way value from Sean in the bottom half of the draw. Head across to the Bet Rivers website. The tournament starts in earnest tomorrow. The qualifications are going through now, but first round tomorrow. And we have 5 matches for you to look ahead to. A bumper 5 matches for tomorrow. And remember, if you are playing on the Bet Rivers website, make sure you get these bets down nice and early, because the matches start at 5 a.m. early in Madrid. 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, Eastern time. A very, very early start. 10 o'clock if you're in the UK. And the first match we are going to discuss is the first match on court. So it's a very early start, and it's a match. It's a pick-em match. Francesco Comesana against Pedro Martinez. -110 Comesana, -113 Martinez. 22.5 is the totals. Comesana comes in here in good form after reaching a final of a challenger event last week. Martinez got beat by Artur Fils in round of 16 in Barcelona after reaching round 2 in Monte Carlo. Comesana's famously has to bring his cigarettes to the court. Make sure he has a couple of fags during cigarettes or fags. When I say fags in America, that means cigarettes. So make sure he has cigarettes. Did you see him having a cigarette? Or was it Comesana having a cigarette on court the other day?
No.
Did you see it? I'm sure it's. Are you questioning me now?
No, I'm not questioning you.
No, you're doubting. I think it was in Miami Open. He was having a cigarette.
That was what, a month or so ago.
Yeah. But he was sitting having a break.
That's very unusual. I remember David Ferrer used to like the old Marlboros or whatever it was he used to smoke, Camel or whatever.
It actually isn't. It looked like he was, but I think there's a picture that's taken. It's gone viral about him having a cigarette, but it wasn't actually. He wasn't actually. He's come out and explained what it was, but it's the picture's pretty funny. It looks quite good. But anyway,
this is me not doing social media, isn't it? I miss all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, you need to be across it. It's quite a good picture. -10, -113. So pick-up match. Where are we going here, Sean? I mean, if you look at the early money, there was a little bit of a flurry for Comesana. Now the money's gone back for Pedro Martinez. The market isn't quite sure about this one, but you must be pretty sure to put it in as one of your best 5 for tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's value on Comesana. Whether he wins or not remains to be seen. But yeah, Martinez has got a shocking record in Spain at main level. He's a player that just has not been able to handle the pressure of playing at home. 1-8 win-loss overall, 1-7 on clay. 1 win in 9 matches at home, and that was last week against Nakashima. It was a very, very tight one. Comesana's never played here. Martinez played here twice, 0-2. Service points won and return points won, total of 98. Last 12 months on clay at main level, Comesana 55% win rate. Service points won and return points won, total of 100. Martinez 46% and 97. About the conditions, Comesana is just much more effective on first serve. 71% first serve points won, 81% holds on clay. Martinez 63% first serve points won, 72% holds. So for me, the quicker conditions, they favour Comesana. As you said, he just made a final on the clay in Portugal to boost his confidence, and Martinez was easily dismissed by Fils in Barcelona. So it's about the conditions, this one, really. Comesana, we know he's effective in quicker conditions. Wimbledon, he played well last year. US Open as well. Not so sure about the cigarettes. I don't know whether he can get a decent supply in Madrid.
I thought you were on 40 of them there, by the way you were breathing. I thought you needed a few fags there. But keep saying fags. But if you're Americans, fags and cigarettes. You've got this confusing. But no, I thought you were on the old cigarettes there.
No, I'm not on the cigarettes. I used to smoke, actually, but it was a long time ago. Last time I had a cigarette was 1997, I think. So it was,
do you know, I've never, ever had a puff of a cigarette, ever in my life. Not even a puff of one.
Never?
Never.
Not even as a kid? Didn't even try it or anything?
Never tried it. Never bothered.
Okay.
No,
well,
never bothered. My mum used to smoke about 40 cigarettes a day. My dad used to smoke 40 cigarettes a day. My older sister used to smoke about 20 cigarettes a day. And then as we used to go to my grandma's, and I used to sit back in the car, and we'd be sitting there for 5 hours on the drive, and they'd be smoking non-stop. It just put me off for life. Never, ever, ever.
Yeah, I suppose if it's like, people say if their dad or mum used to run a pub, they never used to drink, did they? Yeah. The kids or whatever. But
I make up for the non-smoking on the drinking side, but that's the but I've never had a cigarette in my life.
Well, neither have I. Although, yeah, I do get out of breath a bit much these days. I don't know why. Yeah, sometimes I do. But anyway, where were we? Comesana, yeah. I just think there's a couple of factors. As I said, Martinez, terrible record in Spain, seems to suffer from the nerves or whatever it is. Comesana's got a better record on clay, better win rate, better statistics, much more effective on the first serve. Coming in with confidence, as I've said. Martinez easily beaten by Fils. We know Comesana's more effective on quicker conditions. We're certainly not sure. I'm certainly not sure that Martinez is effective in quicker conditions. He's done all right on clay altitude before, places like Santiago and whatever. But if you're giving me a pick'em here, I think Comesana should be favourite for this one.
Yeah, Comesana's our bet here. Official play at -110. Let's move on to our second match. Dzumhur up against Bellucci. I watched Bellucci at Rotterdam, and I thought, hang on a minute. He's not a bad player. He got reached from the semi-finals.
Semis as a qualifier, wasn't he?
Thought he's a player that might want to follow this year. Recently, he's looked like James Bellucci or John Bellucci. He's been absolutely diabolical. Dzumhur is -137 to win this match. Bellucci is +110. Spread is 1.5 total here. He's 21.5. They have met once before in the Challenger in 2022, which Bellucci won very easy 6-2, 6-1. Dzumhur is in form as well, though he reached the semi-finals of the tournament in Bucharest, got beat by the eventual champion Kaboli. And in the early flurries, it's all been for Dzumhur. Negativity towards Mattia Bellucci, who is a player that's just, he seems to have just gone off the radar since that tournament.
Well, I'm happy the odds are moving in this direction because I can't have Dzumhur as favourite here. Maybe a tiny slight favourite, but certainly not -137. Bellucci played well on the clay at a little bit of altitude where I was in Marrakesh a few weeks ago. Again, a lot of these bets are about opposing the player that's kind of seen as more of a clay courter because, these conditions are much quicker than your average sort of clay event. So you often get a bit of value back in the guy that perhaps isn't so adept on the clay, but he is effective on quicker surfaces. So I'm happy to do that in Madrid pretty much every year. So for me, Bellucci will enjoy the quicker conditions. I'm not entirely convinced that it'll suit Dzumhur as much. We know how Dzumhur plays. It's what they call junk. There's no power to it at all. It's all drop shots and slices and awkward angles and different heights and all this sort of stuff. He hasn't got the power. And he wins a lot of matches like that, but in quick conditions against someone like Bellucci, I can't have him as favourite. Just even looking at the head-to-head, which is obviously a long time ago, 3 years ago now, but Bellucci beat Dzumhur easily on clay at the Cordonons Challenger, which has got no altitude at all, like 40 metres or something, but 6-2, 6-1. So the matchup shouldn't be a problem for him. He certainly shouldn't be worried about it. If you look at what Dzumhur's done as a 1.6 to 1.8 favourite at main level on clay, that's between -167 and -125. He's only won 4 of his 9 matches. And on all surfaces, he's lost 5 of his last 8 at main level in that price range. So he's not a guy that you want to be backing if you want to make a profit. Betting him in this sort of price range, he would have lost you some money. I mean, he's played a lot of tennis lately as well, Dzumhur. And he hasn't beaten a top 200 player in the last month in a completed match. I mean, he got to the semi-finals, as you said, in Bucharest, but it was a retirement from Pedro and Martinez in the quarterfinals. In the second round, he played the local wildcard 241. In the first round, 259th ranked Vachereau. So he hasn't beaten a top 200 player in a while. He's only won 1 of his 3 matches here in Madrid, and that was in 2018. I think he beat Julian Benito here in 2018. He's not played this tournament since 2019. So this is just, it looks to me to be being priced on the guy that can play on clay against the guy that isn't particularly known as a clay court player. But Bellucci's done well, as I said, in this mini clay court swing, as well as playing well in Marrakesh. He beat Norrie, I think, as well, didn't he? Pretty sure he beat Norrie. Was it Monte Carlo? Yeah, beat Cam Norrie in Monte Carlo as well. So he's improving on the clay. This is quicker. Happy to take Bellucci at +110 here as underdog. Yeah, with Bet Rivers.
Remember, it's another early start, 5 a.m. Eastern time. 28 different markets available on the Bet Rivers app. Make sure you download the app. And if you do have a bet, you'll be able to bet live and watch live with Bet Rivers. All these matches in Madrid are streamed to your mobile, your tablet, or your laptop. and that's on the women's tour as well. The WCA event is which is going on at the same time. Another match which is quite a close, well, it's another close one to call. I like these close matches to call. It's Alex Michelsen up against Alexander Bublik. Michelsen is minus 127, the young American. Alexander Bublik is plus 102. We haven't got the order of play yet. We do know that if it does come out, Bublik gets an early start. He doesn't like that. He wants to lie in, so that might be important in the way Sean's way of thinking here. Total here is 22.5. They've never met before, but Michelsen is coming here flying in for America. This is his first match on European clay after reaching the quarterfinals in Houston, which is very, very different. And although Bublik's form has been a bit indifferent, he has had the advantage of playing 4 matches through qualification in Munich and in Monte Carlo as well. So 4 European clay court tournaments before he's come to Madrid, whereas Michelsen is just flying in straight away, first match up against Bublik. I do like Bublik in his match as a dog, but I am worried about the start time.
Yeah, anytime you bet in Bublik, you got to worry about a bunch of things. The start time is one of them. That's for sure. He's not known as an early starter, an early riser, should I say? But he is tempting in these conditions against Michelsen, who's only won 3 of his 9 main level matches on European clay. So he's only played 9, so he's quite inexperienced in these conditions. Only won 3 of them, so he certainly hasn't taken to it that well yet. I'm sure he probably will eventually, but hasn't done anything to really show that he should be minus 127 favourite on European clay. But Bublik's got a decent record here, as you would expect, probably, given that it's much quicker. He doesn't always put the effort in some of the slow clay court tournaments, but he's got a decent record here. He's beaten Ben Shelton, he's beaten Kobayashi Baena, he's beaten Shapovalov, Fuchsovich, and he was very, very close to beating Holger Rune here as well. A really tight final set tiebreak. He lost to Holger Rune. So he's very effective in these conditions, and perhaps equally as importantly, he knows he can play in these quicker conditions, whereas his attitude isn't always the best, is it? In some of the tournaments where he thinks he's not gonna be effective, he's not interested a lot of the time, but he is here. He's won 6 of his 10 matches here, Bublik, which is pretty decent for a guy that hates the clay. Michelsen's only played 1 match here and lost it. So his stats are pretty good here, Bublik. 85% holds a serve across those 10 matches and against very good opposition as well. 75% first serve points won. So his game can be effective here. As you said, Nigel, I think the time of the match is certainly of interest. I mean, we don't know it at the moment, so maybe be a little bit cautious until you do. But, he played pretty well last week, Bublik, as well. On the clay in Munich, won a couple of matches, then lost a sort of tight one to Zizou Bergs. So, yeah, he's got his clay shoes on. He's played a few matches. Michelsen, as you said, coming from a little break, and prior to that, American red clay in Houston, which is very, very different. So I can't see any value on Michelsen there. I am quite tempted to back Bublik here at plus money.
I will be very, very surprised if Bublik starts this match at plus money. I think he'll be minus money. I think he'll be slight marginal underdog, till dog, but Michelsen will drift and Bublik will start minus money. It'll be very similar to the first match, the odds we spoke about, where they're both minus money. But I do think that plus 102 is worth a little nibble. But obviously the fear of an early start, first match on court, Alexander Bublik, oh no, that would concern me. Our penultimate match we're going to discuss is a match involving 2 Spaniards playing in the Spanish capital. It's Roberto Bautista Agut, the veteran, up against Jaume Munar, who's not a veteran just yet, but he's getting there. I suppose Munar is minus 210. Bautista Agut is plus 165. The spread is 3.5. 22.5 is the total. It's a bit out of order, me, Munar. He's only 28. I thought he's older than that. Thought he'd been around a lot longer than that. Sorry,
he has been around a while.
Yeah, sorry, the family of Jaume Munar. I know you watch his show every week, and I apologise for that. But anyway, Jaume Munar up against Bautista Agut. Munar's there, be favourite at minus 210, as we said. Bautista Agut is plus 165. To roll back the years, they have met 3 times previously, a couple of them a long time ago, 2018 and 2019, where Bautista Agut was at the top of his game. Munar was just starting. Bautista Agut won both of those on clay, but the last time they met on clay in the French Open, Munar got his revenge, winning 3-1. But obviously, these conditions, as we've said throughout the show, are much, much different. And if the quicker it is, the more chance Bautista Agut has got. He has come in here in a bit of bad form, got beat by Casper Ruud in Monte Carlo, got beat by Van der Sandschulp in Munich, and Munar got beat by Kachanov in Barcelona. Early nibbles are for Bautista Agut, and as we stand now, the plus 165 with Bet Rivers is the biggest price in the land.
Yeah, it's certainly moved quite a bit actually since I looked at this earlier on. Munar actually opened up at 1.38 minus 263 with Bet Rivers, and that's when I looked at this and thought that's very, very short. Now he's closer to minus $2, which is a little bit more like it, but it's still a bit short for me because this quicker clay will suit Roberto Bautista Agut. He's a guy that he's not a typical Spaniard in the sort of clay grinder sense by any means. Loves the quick conditions, likes a low bouncing, slick, quick court. This is about as good as it gets for Bautista Agut on clay. Munar's just a bit short here based on a number of things. His Madrid record isn't great. He's another Spaniard that hasn't played that well in the bigger tournaments at home. Just a 50% win rate, Munar, in his matches here in the main draw of Madrid, and a service points won and return points won total of 97. So very mediocre record here. Bautista Agut much better, as you would probably expect, because he was pretty close at the top of the game at one stage. 57% win rate here, and a service points won and return points won total of 100. So on the bare stats for Madrid, I know some of these are a few years ago when Bautista was a lot younger, but Munar's not really done it here. Bautista's done reasonably well, pretty well. The head-to-head does favour Munar, but the one at the French Open, if you just look at the odds there, he was priced at 1.82 Munar to win that tournament on the slower clay. No altitude there in Paris at the French Open. A lot of these statistics are from that. He won a couple of sets 6-1 there. So he does lead the service points won and return points won totals of the 3-match series by 103 to 97. It's not massively overwhelming, but it's an all right lead. But Bautista Agut won both of their matches played in quicker conditions on the clay, both of them in Gstaad altitude. Yeah, it was a few years ago. But you would certainly favour Bautista on, in those sort of conditions. What's interesting about the head-to-head statistics is Bautista Agut wins 53% of his second serve points. Munar just 45% over the 3-match series, and one of them he dominated. So he's certainly not had the better of it from the back of the court, Munar. I just feel like it should be closer than the odds suggest this. It has moved, which is kind of annoying, but Bautista Agut originally plus 3.5 games on the handicap. He was 1.93 minus 108. Now he's 1.77 minus 130, which is kind of off-putting. If those odds move back to how they were, then I'd be tempted on Bautista Agut plus 3.5 or the overs. I just think this would be tougher than those prices suggest. Munar's not had a great season on the clay at all. He's as I said in the other show the other day, he's a lot better on hard these days, or he has been in the last sort of 6 months. Much better statistics on hard than he has on clay. So, yeah, I've been leaning towards RBA, but the prices have moved a bit.
I think they might move against us again here. I think RBA will start short than plus 165. I reckon he'll start this match around about plus 140, and I believe the spread here will probably be a 2.5 game spread by the time we start. The more liquid market, I think the spread of the 3.5 might get to a point where it's minus 150 or something like that. So unfortunately, I think if you've got the early value on Bautista Agut, well done. If you're coming in now, we think you probably missed it a little bit. But Bautista Agut, if you want to take the plus 165, and I'm pretty certain that won't last. So if you want to head across to the Bet Rivers website and take it, it's entirely on you. Our final match, and I think this offers one of the best value bets of the day, actually. Navone up against Mpetshi Perricard. Now, when you see clay, you think of gritty clay quarters like Navone coming at Bayers, and Mpetshi Perricard with his serve so dominant and his big hitting and his big serve, and not the clay court not being his favourite surface. But as we've said throughout this show, this is very different in Madrid, and this has been priced up, I believe, as though it's a match in the first round of the French Open. It's not like the tournament we have here. I know Mpetshi Perricard is not in great form. He hasn't won a match at Indian Wells. He's lost his last 4 matches. But this is a court where I think his serve will be a danger. And Navone really disappointed in that strange match against Goffin the other day, where he won the first set 6-love, and then he threw it away, didn't he? I mean, it was unbelievable for Navone. So he must be all over the place. Navone's minus 167 is Mpetshi Perricard's plus 135. Spread is 1.5 at plus money for Mpetshi Perricard. And then the other thing you've got to note, they've met once before in 2012 in Lima. which I can imagine be a lot slower than this. And Mpetshi Perricard won that match in a challenger event. So I think this is a big price to Mpetshi Perricard. I know his form's not great. I know everyone looks at Navone much more suitable on clay court, but this is very different, isn't it?
It is very different. This kind of follows the theme of what we've been talking about in this show so far. The matches being priced, some of them as if it was just a sort of standard sea-level clay event, which it definitely isn't. As you said, Mpetshi beat Navone on clay in Lima. That was 150. There's a bit of altitude there, 150 meters. It's not much. It's a little hint of altitude. This is more like over 650 meters of altitude. So this is quicker. You are taking a chance. This is more of a kind of theory, a bit of a feeling that I've got rather than anything that can be sort of attributed to a bunch of statistics, because Mpetshi Perricard has never played here. But you would think that similarly to Bublik, he should find this more to his liking than sort of Monte Carlo, Barcelona, these sort of tournaments where there's, they are slow. It is difficult for a player of his style of play. Massive serve, takes a big swing, goes for everything. He should find that style of play doable here. I watched his match against Medvedev in Barcelona last week. He wasn't too far away. Medvedev was a worthy winner in the end, but it was pretty close. I think it was 7-5, 7-6. 7-5, 7-6. And it's much slower there, much thicker, slower clay, no altitude. It played decent. He was a little bit, Medvedev was a worthy winner, as I say, but it wasn't. If he'd have won that second set tiebreak in Mpetshi Perricard, which he should have done, he was leading in it. He could have maybe gone on to win that third set. But as you said, this could be a good time to play Navone. He did struggle to deal with the power of Felix last week in Munich. He did win that match in the end, but he was a set and a breakdown, and he was a breakdown in the final set. Just too many mistakes from Felix in the end, which could well be the case. Again with Mpetshi, he's going to play that way as well. He's going to go for everything. It depends whether he has a day where he's finding the lines or just missing. We'll see. But then obviously he lost to Goffin, Navone, from 6-love up. Another disappointing defeat for him. It's more of a theory, this one, as I say. I think Mpetchi's serve here, combined with the pretty weak serve of Navone, Mpetshi can just keep holding and keep the pressure on. You'd think, given how Navone's serve is, that Mpetshi will have a chance to break it. So, yeah, he perhaps wouldn't have that chance on slower clay, but on this clay, you would give him a shot. So, the bet that I quite like here is Mpetshi to win the opening set plus 120 with Bet Rivers. Whether he can win the match over the course of 2 or 3 sets remains to be seen, but I think he's going to come out here motivated. He knows he can play in these conditions, and him to win set 1 plus 120 is not bad.
Yeah, plus 120, as I said earlier, there's 28 different markets available on all these matches with Bet Rivers if you download the Bet Rivers app. And if you want to watch any of these matches, all you got to do is place a bet, $1 bet. Will qualify you to watch one of these matches, and you'll be able to bet live and watch live on the Bet Rivers app. There's plenty more content coming here on Betting Weekly Studios. There is Betting Weekly Tennis Live Monday through to Wednesday. Two of the handicapping team will be on there giving you all the best in play from the tournament in Madrid tomorrow. It will be Tim Dennis and Rory Giovanni. Betting Weekly Live as well. But prior to that, that's 6 p.m. Local time in the UK and 1 p.m. across Eastern time for the Betting Weekly Tennis Live. Prior to that, at 11 o'clock Eastern time, Monday through to Friday, is Betting Weekly Live. And yesterday, Lewis Jones and Steve Wish were on fire. I think they gave you 6 bets, all 6-1. Cashing tickets galore with the conclusion of the Premier League and the soccer around Europe. Betting Weekly Premier League as well. The Betting Weekly Dojo is live now. Betting Weekly Extra Time and Betting Weekly Game Bet Match and Betting Weekly WTA. It's all happening here on the fastest growing YouTube channel for sports betting content around. Sean, before I let you go, give us a recap of your best bets for the first round in the Madrid Masters.
So the outrights. Should I do the outrights first?
Please.
Yeah, so the outrights are both each ways. Matteo Berrettini each way 50-1, and Jiří Lehečka also each way at a very big 150-1. A couple of official plays on the match bets. Francisco Comesana minus 110 to beat Pedro Martinez, and I'm taking a chance on Bellucci as underdog. I think he's plus 110 with Bet Rivers to beat Damir Jaume. Yeah, it's all about the conditions here, the quicker conditions. suiting the more powerful players against the more traditional clay court guys.
Yeah, favourable mention as well to João Fonseca, who was 66 to 1 this morning with Bet Rivers and other books. He's cut now to 40 to 1, but I think he'll give you a good run for your money as well. So not an official play, but a lean on João Fonseca as well. We want to take on those favourites. Carlos Alcaraz, he can't be fit, plus 160. You're going to be very brave if you're betting Carlos Alcaraz. Won a lot of tennis and injured only on Sunday. Got a few days off. He was out partying last night at some award ceremony in Madrid where Stefanos Tsitsipas and Paulo Bautista. I know you're all over that, Sean, on your Instagram account. You watch everything like that. But,
no. What happened?
There was some award ceremony there, all that. But anyway, that's it for this week. We will be back later in the week. I'm not quite sure the days just yet, but we'll be back later in the week to give you some more coverage of the tennis over in Madrid. Lots of action as well. Follow us on Instagram and our socials at Because We Win. And remember to subscribe to our newsletter, bettingweeklystudios.com. We've got you covered everywhere you go, whatever your sports betting needs are. Have a good day. Take care.